Welcome to Rick. Welcome to Frolic Brewing Company. We hope you have a happy and prosperous New Year. We're going to say healthy is given. Glad you're here. For those of you that are new, Frolic allows us to have this one for a room each month. They just ask us to order food, order drinks, tip, and treat your staff nicely. After every month, they kind of get together and go, well, how were it? We're good, we're bad. So we've been here for a little over a year, and we love Frolic. Frolic's our home. I think everybody knows this by now. Red up is I'm good. Don't bother me. Green up is I'm thirsty or I'm hungry. Come and talk to me. Our agenda is you've been doing your networking. We're going to do just a little bit of announcements. Remember introductions. Everybody gets to go around. Everybody gets usually 30 seconds. But tonight I think we could fudge a little bit. Still, we're going to give Tim plenty of room and plenty of time to talk. The guy he has wants OMGs. OMGs is, oh my goodness, sir. Oh my God. We like to hear both sides because we learn from both. Sometimes we learn more from the bad ones than we do the good ones. So, and then everything you wanted to know about rentals but was afraid to ask, Tim's going to talk about bulletproofing your rentals. He's got a special deal for us tonight for a workshop we got coming up. This slide's going to be everything we do, even if it's a party. Due diligence, due diligence, due diligence, due diligence. Somebody may stand up and go, I got the best deal you ever heard about. And it may sound like the best deal you've ever heard about. It may not be true. So ask about the deals, but more importantly, ask about the people. We want you to network. We want you to meet new people. We want you to work together. But at the same time, be safe and be wise when you're meeting that new business partner. And you find out a little bit about it. Find your background. Ask around. I was very surprised. I'm still surprised. As huge as Denver is, in the real estate world, it's a small village. Because if they've been doing it long enough, everybody in town knows. Good, bad, and ugly. Due diligence. We will just don't beat that horse to death too much more. But we expanded our social network a little bit. We jumped out on bigger pockets and got a spot out there, and we've actually already got a member off of it. So it's paying off. So there's all our different social media links, but the only one you really need to know about is our website, realtyinvestorsgroup.org. We got a very active website, or we got a very active Facebook group, very active over, I think, 3,600 plus members. Very active. You'll see somebody like, hey, I need an electrician, and you get 4 or 5 good recommendations. I think Peter's using it as a trying to locate a guy. He gave us that guy. He made a post today asking for a guy. He's an investor. He's a cop. I lost his number. Anybody knows it? There's deals. If you're a member, you get a bunch of deals on there. You get a bunch of services. If you're a business member, we'll try to help promote your business for you. On all our social media sites here at the meeting. Once a month, we pick out a business member and we ask them to come up front and get a few minutes to talk about their business. And tonight, this month, is Home Trust Wholesale. We got fine young men to come up here and talk to us about it. Come on up and speak to you slides. Yeah. You're right. All right. I'm going to get there because there's just a big They're going to the top. Okay, great.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? And of course, Happy New Year to you all. My name is Ken Cassidy. I am when I say new, 3 months in, which tends to go pretty fast. So 3 months, it's like 2 years. But I'm the chief operating officer for Home Trust. You may know us as Clear Sale. Our Mallet Rentals, we wholesale property as well as maintain our own retail or rental portfolio of property, and our distribution channels are either from a wholesale perspective or we maintain our own inventory of rentals. Pressing the button and it's that one there. Okay, I think I'll turn it on for a second. Home Trust has been in business for 20 years. You folks may have met at some particular point in time, Hope or Jason Burns. Hope and Jason Burns have been Doing business in the Front Range now for, like I said, about 20 years. We flip right now about 40 houses a year. We're actually budgeted or scheduled in 2022 to try and flip between 50 and 60. And again, right now we're wholesaling about 250 houses a year. We do that through, we have an app that we're actually have an auction app that continually we're processing assets through that, as well as our website. We buy from other wholesalers. We also have private money loans that we offer to our investors. So depending on, a bridge loan or the folks, the wholesalers going through us, we're actually can provide some financing for projects. We have, pretty low entry point as far as we don't want to do it the first time. But folks, we get folks that have been in the business for just a little bit, have some experience flipping houses, that maintain either their own rental portfolios or doing it just as flips.
Ballpark term?
Pardon me?
Ballpark.
Traditionally if we're bridging basically that construction period, it's usually 2.7%. Yeah, so that's,
That's respectable.
I would say that's, kind of our baseline. Again, it depends on the deals, how long we've been doing this, folks, but 10 to 2, that's kind of traditionally where we're at. You have here an email address to be added to our wholesale marketing list if you'd like. Again, I welcome you to download our app. It's actually through the App Store on Apple to actually see the the product that we're wholesaling. If you have anything, you can take an appointment for access to the properties, everything right through there, as well as submit your bid. Or if you'd like some more information on the private money type of situation, depending on what your business is, if you're in the flipping biz yourself. And again, you'd like some more information on that particularly. If there's a deal, and again, we could be your buyer, feel free to reach out. I am so new, unfortunately, I don't have my business cards yet to throw on the table here. But anyone, I'm more than welcome. Like I said, take your card, your information. I'd be more than happy to return my information for you. Like I said, in the morning or tonight, depending on the time I get back. But again, that is actually my cell phone number up there. Are these slides you'd be going through at all? I saw they were going kind of rotating earlier.
I'm gonna take these and put them on Facebook.
Yeah, okay. So let's take it live, Jim. So Jim's gonna post these slides on Facebook. That's my cell, and then an email address to get in touch with if you'd like to. But like I said, I'm welcome to be with the company. I've been in commercial and residential real estate for about 20 years and Denver for about 5. So we'd be more than excited. We had a little slow end to 2021, but knock on wood, I don't know what you did. We've come out like gangbusters last week. As fast as last week, the gates were open, and we're already starting to see a flood. So we're all expecting a big giant 2022. So thank you very much. It's a great meeting everybody. We look forward to meeting you guys and seeing you again. Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot,
sir. From your lips to God's ears. Okay, this is our 30-second elevator speech. This is where you meet somebody in passing and they may go, Kim, what do you do? And you got usually about 30 seconds to spit it out. And so we're going to give each one of you a chance to do that. Your name, what you specialize in, what you need from the group, what you can provide to the group. And my phone number is. Do that. And since how Kim's the birthday girl, we'll let her start off. Speak. We're not going to hand the mic around tonight. With all our current scares, people worry about handling stuff. But if you would speak up, because we do have about like 5 people on Zoom sessions.
Awesome. Alrighty. Oh, do I?
But you do have to stand up.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Johnson, and I work with Network Realty. So we are a wholesaling brokerage. So the basics of it is we find deals for investors. So all types, all over Denver Metro, up to Fort Collins, down to the Springs. Sometimes we'll go as south as Pueblo. But whether you're looking for rentals, flips, short-term rentals, new builds, strategic builds. I mean, we really get a little bit of everything. So if you're interested, if you're looking for deals, definitely find me after. My number is 925-330-7709. Thank you.
We're glad you're here with us tonight, in light of what you just went through. You guys just missed it last Saturday. The weather was beautiful. We had a good crowd down there. We had a good discussion, a couple of good discussions. If it's not too late, the tickets are already on sale for next month. Other than Rick, this is the best event in the state. Come on. Actually, I can't compare Rick to investment success. When I first started getting into investing way back in 2012, I heard this name. It took a few years where I got down there and it was like, wow, I've been missing that one. These are serious investors, a lot of knowledge in the room, a lot of first timers, but there's a lot of experience in that. And you'll hear him say there, even there, due diligence. It's a great place to go. There's some really good networking. You get an idea of what's going on in the rest of the world. You get some good food. Traffic is awesome. Parking, no problem. Just for me, I just have to get at 5:30 a.m. to get down there. Highly say go. Katie,
Back this thing up. I'm writing.
Back it up.
I'm writing stuff down.
I'm learning a new control.
I'll hear it a couple times.
Yeah, you'll hear it more. All right, got it?
Yeah.
I'll put it back up later too. Katie, starter of used to be Inc. And then we kind of merged. We went separated. There was no nasty divorce. We still love each other. We're like brother and sister. She's out there putting her passion to work, leading mastermind groups. She's got some groups starting up for 2022, and I think the last started doing a little bit more like an age segregated and a wiser group and a younger group. Ain't gonna say old. They got older investors and some younger investors. But she's got some stuff starting in 2022. She was going to give you a slide, but she's been kind of busy doing some stuff. I highly encourage you to check that out. Probably this year she's going to come and talk a little bit about just about goal planning and sticking to your goals and stuff like that. I'm Jim, as most of you know. I do funding on the side. I broker our money. I work with a couple of different funds. I also do private lending. I've got 2 different private funds I'm trying to put to work and let those guys make new friends. Our rehab loan is a little bit different than most, whereas the big difference is we have no monthly payments. I'll say it again, no monthly payments. And your rehab draws are in advance. Most people, you're making monthly payments and you go do your work and you get reimbursed. Do your work, you get reimbursed. So we flip that around a little bit. We also do the rental loans. If you've got an Airbnb, short-term rental, we've got financing for that. It's a little bit different and fairly new product. We've got that. And then we got new construction. Now I won't go into this too much. But if you want passive income, where you buy and get the slots, you put it in house, you plug them in, and you make helium coins, transfers into cash. There's some information there if you want to go check into it. You'll pay a deposit on your miner, and you'll pay a $99 sign-up fee, but you get a coupon for $99 for an antenna. So it's kind of sort of you get in for free. There is a little bit of investment, but you can make that money back depending on your neighborhood, probably about 1 to 2 months. Here he is. Finally, I get to sit down and shut up. Mr. Tim comes up. Let me change the slides around. And I'm going to let him introduce himself because I think most everybody knows him.
Happy New Year. How is everybody? Yeah, I know 3/4 of you, and for those I don't know, I'll meet you a little later. So it's gonna work. All right.
So there's you there.
All right. All right. How am I supposed to stand so everybody sees?
Pretty much. See,
There's a tape. There's like a tape right here. I stand
that
on.
line right there. Don't go past that line.
It's like the John Prine song that talks about the lines on the tape on the stage, where you never know if to stand on it or stay away from it. Anyways, for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Emery. I have been in real estate since 2004. Started out as just a realtor. After I moved to Vail down here, because my best friend and his family had started a real estate company. He's like, hey, come down and be a realtor. I said, well, I don't know how to do that. He said, it's easy. And he didn't lie. It just took me 3 or 4 years to figure that out. Company name was Sticks and Stones, Fine Colorado Properties. And for 2004, 5, 6, 7, were fantastic. Those of you who were in the real estate game at that point, remember how good it was. The interesting thing about real estate, and this goes for everybody, be a real estate agent is easy. To find the next person you want to deal with, the next buyer or seller, is not easy. Especially when you're 30 years old, you come out of the mountains, all your friends finally have money. You go buy houses for all your friends, and then they don't buy another house for 7 years. So then you have to go out and figure out how to find new people. And I'll tell you what, I'm a pretty nice guy. I've been around a lot, but my patience has gotten a little bit harder over the years. And dealing with buyers and sellers kind of squashed me, and different personalities in the world. And so kind of around 2011 and 12, we figured out that we had to figure out a way to get off the real estate roller coaster. Okay. As a realtor, the roller coaster goes. What are you doing? Hey, can you guys all hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to turn this up? Okay. The real estate roller coaster is pretty interesting because you go out to market yourself or network. And you'll be at an event like this, and like 3 or 4 people come up and talk to you, and then all of a sudden you got deals, and you got 3 or 4 deals, and then you're dealing with all the paperwork and all the headaches and everything else, and you forget that somehow you need to make the next 3 or 4 deals work. So you go through these 3 or 4 deals, you deal with all the closings, you get checks that account for 20 to 30 grand, and you're happy. But then you got to start all over. And you go, oh, so now I go out, and 3 months later, I've got another check for 20 grand. But in the meantime, I had to pay for everything that I couldn't pay for while I was trying to find those things. So in 2011, my partner and friend and I decided to start a property management company. He already had about 10 properties he was managing. I had about 5. And we're like, let's do something. The reason we started the property management company is because 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, you couldn't sell a house for what you needed to get out of it because the market tanked so bad. So all these people were like trying to sell their houses, and they're like, well, I can't get enough to pay off. That's when short sales were so big. Okay, people just could not get out of their properties. So we started this property management company called Sticks and Stones Fine Colorado Properties. So between 2011 and 2015, we grew it from 15 to 20 properties to 220 when I left. And the growing pains and the stuff I dealt with was a lot. And we're going to go into that a little more detail. In 2015, I was going to the John Fisher Breakfast Club because I found it one time about 2010 or 11. And half my business was from the John Fisher Breakfast Club. Then John Fisher and I became friends, and then I started presenting for him about property management, talking about it. And unfortunately, in 2015, he passed away. Nobody stood forward to buy Invest Success or the Breakfast Club. So I saw an opportunity, talked to his widow, and took over Invest Success in the property management, the John Fisher Breakfast Club. We moved the John Fisher Breakfast Club from about 60 to 70 people. At one point, we had over 100 people coming. We narrowed it back down to 80 because it was just too crazy with 100. And now we're sitting around 60 every month because COVID's kind of held us down a little bit, but 60 is a good number. We get to get through everybody, and we get to have great discussions. I was part owner of I-Core in 2007 and 2008. 2017 through 2019, I-Core is a great resource. Go check them out. All right, so the reason Jim brought me in is to talk about bulletproofing your rentals. On Saturday, January 22nd, from 10 to 4, we'll be in this room. I have 80 slides to go through that talk about everything you want to know about rentals. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fun, the not so fun, the everything. So make sure you get tickets. If you guys are looking at rentals and you want to buy rentals in the future, you need to be at this event. It'll be so important. You will get so many tips and tricks that you wouldn't even think of. So make sure you buy your tickets. Tickets are $295 per person. If you stick around all night, you may get a special present discount later on. Okay. Like Jim said,
Termite tips?
I do not talk about termite tips. We barely have any termites here.
About spotter.
We can talk about spotters too. We can talk a little bit about HOAs. But we were an individual property manager. So we worked with single families, single people, and we didn't work with many HOAs. We actually discussed that at one point, and it just wasn't working. So
What about the properties that the investors got it in nature?
that's who we worked with. That was our main people. So we would deal with HOAs for the people. Part of your due diligence. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I can't give you tax advice. I can't give you any law advice. So if we start going down the rabbit hole and talking about laws, I can't help you. You need to speak to a lawyer. I do not have a license. I do have a real estate license in the state of Colorado, and I'm a recovering property manager. So make sure you guys find the right person. I am a licensed agent, and just because Ross finally announced it today, I'm going to be joining Ross's team at Mill Real Estate.
Either way,
Mill Real Estate.
it's mysterious.
So I am going to start that. I just was reading the documents beforehand. I'm going to be moving over there, so it'll be fun. So if you got any real estate needs, I can help out. You're going to go see Amy's house tomorrow. All right, so let's get into nuts and bolts. You guys realize 50% of all landlords are elected. Most people don't want to be landlords. Majority of people, I mean, we've got 25 people in this room. There are probably 50 people out there. I'll bet you there's only about a handful that actually have rental properties. Nobody wants to be a landlord. Nobody wants to deal with that. I don't know why. I don't understand why they don't want to, but they don't. And it's getting worse. This next generation of people don't want to be landlords. They don't see the value of it.
They don't even want to be owner occupied.
They don't even want to be owner occupied. Exactly. And do you blame them? I mean, I own my own house and my water heater broke the other day. And I called my friend John and said, John, you help me fix this. He goes, yeah, I've got an expense fee to come out to my branch and it's going to do this. And it's going to be like $350 for a $10 part. He's like, you can do it yourself. Go watch YouTube. So, of course, and I'm not the handiest guy in the world. I go watch YouTube. I go get the part. I start taking things apart. And finally get it. It took me 3.5 hours. Finally get it out. Put it back together. Go to hook everything up. And there was one bolt that didn't fit right. So, and that was Friday afternoon I figured this out. So 3 days ago, Friday afternoon I figured this out. Home Depot doesn't have the part I. So Monday I go to Ferguson's and they give me, they're like, the only part we have is this whole trap. I said, oh. So I take it. I'm starting to pull out the thermocouple and I'm like, wait a minute, this thing's not come down. Maybe I just have to replace the whole thing. Replace the whole thing, 20 minutes later, my hot water. So if I was a renter, I would call my landlord to do it. Furnace went out, gotta deal with that. Garage door, broke a spring, gotta deal with that. I don't blame these kids for not wanting to be a homeowner. But why would you buy rentals? Anybody got some ideas besides what's up there? That's a hint for somebody to say something. Why would you buy a rental? For all investors out here, make money, cash flow. What else?
Have the rat race.
You what?
You have the rat race, you have to beat
Get out of the rat race.
appreciation.
Freedom, appreciation. What else?
Not paying somebody else.
Flexibility, not paying somebody else. What else? Somebody else is paying your mortgage, right? Yeah, it's passive income, it's retirement.
It's actually more like passive aggressive.
It depends on how you do it.
What do you mean by that? Let's just be honest.
It depends on how you do it. Deal with it. We're gonna get into that. Kids' college. You buy, I bought a couple houses and I bought a house that I know, and I bought it 10 years ago. My kids are gonna be going to college here in 5 years, thank God. And, I'm gonna use that money to buy the college if they go. I don't know if they're gonna go yet. I got 5, 6 more years. I'm going to the beach, right? So kids' college. Wealth management, best way to get rich slow. And it really is. The guy who I went to work with, Sticks and Stones, their family, I've got the rich dad for that story. Yeah, I tell this story every time. My dad was an engineer, one of the founders and first group of people to figure out what GIS was, Geographic Information System. First guys to map, hand-drawn map, and put them on a computer. There's a scholarship after his name at the University of Maine. He's in books, everything. He died in 2004 with $28,000 in his pocket. He started 3 companies. Don't know what happened to him. I was too young and didn't know. So he was brilliant, but he wasn't a real estate investor. My best friend's dad was from Stratton, Bona, Colorado. Anybody know where Bona or Stratton or Seabird, if you go I-70, 150 miles, it's out there. Became an accountant, started buying rental properties in 1972. He and his wife bought a house, had a kid. They lived there a year, they moved to the next house, lived there another year, moved to a third house, lived there another year, and those were all in East Cherry Creek, so just East Cherry Creek Mall. And then they moved south to the Tech Center area. Then we lived in a different house until about 5 years, but stayed in the same. They bought a rental property at least every year. His dad retired in 1988 or 1990 when we were sophomores in high school because he could, because he had 40 properties paid off for each. They were all making somewhere between $500 and $1,000 a month. They never raised rents. They wanted the same tenants. It was fantastic. Since then, since about 2006 or 7, they started selling properties slowly, 1031 into different properties. What they also did was they took a lot of their stuff. They went and bought in their same neighborhood the house they bought for $100,000 in 1970. They 3 or 4 years ago, they bought $1 million house in the same neighborhood. With a lot of the money, they rented it for 2 years. Now they moved into it. There goes all that money that they would have had to pay the government, they just say. So that's the rich dad poor dad story I live. No, they have not made me an honorary member. They made me an honorary member of the family, but I have absolutely no benefits. And it doesn't do me any good except to be able to tell you that story. So unfortunately, it didn't work. But starting to work with those guys and learning all this stuff was amazing back in 2004, 5, 6. Okay. But as rental properties, this is why we buy. This is what we do with them. Okay, it's to make money. You know, just think how much do you need to, Sebastian, how much do you need to live on a year right now? Yeah, or how much monthly do you need to live on right now?
My family about 10,000.
10,000. Okay. Ross, how much do you need to live on?
10,000 doesn't matter how you shake it. It's always 10,000.
It's always 10,000. Sure.
That's what it tells you.
Yeah. Ty, how much would you like to live on right
I mean, goal doesn't really matter. I mean, comfortably for me, like $5,000 a month.
now?
But stretch 10,000.
Okay. Jim, 5 to 10. Way too low. Way too low.
60K a month.
Not one. I want $1 million.
I think, you know, the way things are going up, probably 15 now. I think 10 was pretty much where it was a few years ago.
15 is the new 10.
Yeah, 15 was the new 10. And that's with inflation and everything going on, probably 15 grand a month. How many properties would you need to have paid off free and clear to have $15,000 a month? How many?
20.
About 20. You can do it a little bit lower, maybe 15. The way rents are right now, you can probably make $1,000 a month. So 15 properties. So if I want to retire in 10 years, 15 properties, I got to buy 1.5 properties a year. Can anybody think about how hard it is to buy 15 properties or 1.5 properties a year? Is it hard?
Was that
Those are the
optimistic
market.
to think you're gonna cash flow properties or that's?
Yeah, at the beginning. But you probably could do that. It wouldn't be that hard. Yeah, is it a little optimistic at the beginning? Yeah, that's exactly right. But 3 to 4 years down the road, it's not. So one of those goals is you want a hassle-free, trouble-free, smooth-running, income-producing machine. It's like having your own ATM. Okay. A friend of the group that some of you guys may know from back in the day, her name's Kate Krieger, was amazing. She was the first person I got out of the Breakfast Club that wanted to hire me for property management. And she sat at a table. She goes, would you manage properties that I don't want to go to? I said, heck yeah. So all of a sudden I got a property from her at 10th and Osage, something like that. Rough part of town. And then I had another property from her. I want to say it was 57th at York. Anybody know where the Purina plant is? On York and I-25? Yeah, it was in the shadow of that. There's a train track. This was in a corner. Somebody had built a large duplex up there. And she bought it for like 170 grand. We were renting it out. We put Section 8 in there. We were renting it out for something like $2,500 to $3,000. Now, over the 4 or 5 years we managed it, we had a shooting. We had somebody stumbled into one of the units, bloody and dying, and we had somebody else dying. But she since sold it, and she sold it for around $600K. Not bad. And she only held it for 5 or 6 years. I also found her a 5-plex at 33rd in Jersey, which is just north of MLK. It did have some bullet holes on it when we bought it. It did have some squatters underneath that weren't there when we bought it. They actually got them out, and they had put a big steel plate, like a 5x8 steel plate that weighed 150 pounds on top of it, on top of the way to get in there underneath it. It was amazing. That property she bought for, I want to say $435. The plan was with that property was to make it a little bit nicer and then rezone it or take it and make it a party wall agreement and sell each unit for 250K. Well, she decided at a point, she's like, I don't want to do that, I just want to sell it. So she sold it for $1.5 million. It was a 5-unit, all Section 8, it was cash cow. Now, what she's doing, what her and her husband are doing with their money, they have it in a Delaware statutory trust. Making 5 or 6%, they 1031 into this trust so they don't have to pay taxes. And they're happy. They're retired. They don't want any more properties. They don't want to deal with the headaches. They don't want to. But we manage that for them. Okay? We took care of that. Yeah, did she have to call? Did we have to call her every other month? Yeah. Did she really ever have to come down? No. Did she ever have to write checks to us? No. She just needed updates of what was going on. Now, her husband at the beginning of this whole thing did yell at her a lot. He'd yell at her when he was, okay, stop buying this crap. This sucks. It's sucking us dry. 3 years later, the response from there was, holy shit, Kay, these are amazing. I can't believe you did this. So now they're retired. So that's your goal. Okay? How do you get those ATMs? You gotta find happy tenants. You gotta find good tenants. Okay? Now, tonight's presentation is about 16 to 20 slides long. Saturday the 22nd is 70 to 90 slides long. Okay? I took a couple of the big parts of my presentation out to give you guys tonight. Because I didn't want you guys to drive all the way up here and not get into the numbers. It's not a sales pitch. Oh, you guys got to buy my system and buy my program. And tonight usually it's $10,000, but tonight it's going to be $699. Not what we're here for. I'm here to give you guys good information. Unfortunately, in the 40 minutes I have to speak, I cannot give you nearly as much stuff. That's why you got to come on in 27. Okay? But happy tenants means healthy rentals. That's something where we're going to talk about in detail on the 22nd. We're going to talk about how do you find those happy tenants? How do you screen tenants? How do you screen tenants legally? Legally is a huge thing. Okay? Usually about this time or in my presentation, I get in an argument with somebody. Because they say, I can decide whoever I want to have in my property. And they say they can say I want the best credit score ever. Well, yeah, if you're a one-off guy, maybe you can get away with it. But if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 properties, you can't do that. Because then you're stereotyping, you're going against the fair housing, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So you got to figure that out, what you can hire and how you can hire, or how you can bring in those tenants.
If I can't place an ad, I want college students on.
You cannot place an ad that says, I want college students on. You cannot put in your listing, it's a family neighborhood. Okay? You can't say great family schools. All right? You can't say a lot of that stuff. We're going to go back in. So who manages those rentals for you guys? You guys can. A lot of you guys have. A lot of you guys have spent a lot of headaches. Notice I don't have any gray hair. You can. Property manager. Property managers are great, just like tenants. You got to find the right one. There are some groups, some property managers and so forth that are called tenant placement specialists. And some of the property management companies will do it and say, hey, we're going to go out and find the tenant. We're going to put them in. We're going to have all this leases done. And then you get to deal with them afterwards. Which isn't a bad way to do it if they got a good tenant everywhere. If they did the right things. If the tenants are smooth. Can you go back on them and say, hey, you gave me a bad tenant? Well, usually not. That's their deal. And they usually charge, 1 month's rent. So, but it's your turn. It's your job to manage them afterwards. Okay? when you're doing this stuff, if you're looking for a property manager or a tenant specialist or whatever, you got to decide what is more important, time or money. Okay. Now, when you talk to a property managers are you kind of look at them most of the time like they don't do anything, right? You hire them, you don't hear from them for 12 months. They get another tenant in there, or they renew it. You don't hear from them another 10 months, 12 months. But that one night, that tenant did not change the furnace filter, or did not turn off the hoses. That property manager is there at 2 o'clock in the morning dealing with it. I've been there. I did it. Tenant calls, we have no heat. And it's always the first calls. We have no heat. All right. Have you changed the furnace filter? No. Well, you remember when I put you in there, I showed you how to change the furnace filter? No. All right, let's go change the furnace filter. Pull the furnace filter out, put a new one in, and all of a sudden the furnace kicks in. Oh, look at that. But you didn't have to do that at 11:30 after the Broncos Super Bowl game. I did. It was a little sketchy that night. But you got to deal with that. You got to decide what is more important. If you only have one rental property, you can probably do it yourself. When you get 2, maybe you can still do it yourself. 3, 4, 5, why not hire somebody to do it for you? So you can go out and make more money. What's your normal day job? I mean, when Steve and Jim were working at IBM, I'm sure they were making $100+ grand a year and making, 40, 50 bucks an hour, 80 bucks an hour, whatever it is. Was it cheaper for them to hire somebody or for them to go deal with it after they worked a 70-hour work? Much better for them to hire somebody. That's why they're all gray-haired now and are losing their hair.
I'll share an OG about a shower door I waited 3 months later.
Who takes that call? 2 o'clock in the morning. I get that call. I'll tell you what, I spent 5 years with my phone sitting right next to my bed, thinking I was going to wake up every night. Now, did I wake up a lot? No. Out of 365 days, I probably had 20 days that I had to deal with something after that. So it wasn't really that bad, but it was always the threat of that happening. Of somebody calling me saying, "Oh, I need this now." Well, why couldn't you call me 6 hours ago at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day? That's what you gotta know. It takes time. It also takes time to show the properties. All right, right now the market's so hot. You can go show a property. You can line up people every 10 minutes. You can funnel them through. You can take 5 applications. You can get people through. But what happens if the market is slow? And you wait a few months. You got days that you're waiting to get tenants in. Sometimes it takes a while and it takes time. Who collects the rent? Well, luckily nowadays with modern technology and home apps like Appfolio, there's another one I can't remember. There's Mr. Landlord and there's another one I'll think of the name. But it can take all the rents that you can set it up, direct deposit. You can do all that stuff. Problem is when they don't pay the rent, you gotta call them up and figure out what's going on.
Mr. Rent doesn't just pay that for them. Mr. Rent app just doesn't take it, it's not one of the services they offer.
Yeah,
They just don't pay the rent when they do as well. They just process it out.
they just process. Yeah, they take a
One of
little
those
fees.
little flaws in those apps.
Yeah,
yeah. Tenants pay the rent.
Yeah, they don't pay for it. Yeah. So again, the 22nd, we're going to talk about 110 plus tips. All right, I gave up on it. I've got them in sections. There's 60 or 70. I don't know. Okay. But this is what you're going to learn is remember the things you don't know. Okay. What don't you remember? What didn't you think about? Steve already said it. He didn't think to make sure that the property was vacant when he bought it. You know, we found a squatter, and 2 years later, they got squatters. You've been telling me about this for a year. You know, things that you don't think about. That's what we're gonna talk about Saturday. We're gonna talk about little tips and hints, okay? Like here's some rental tips, okay? If you got a house, consider installing vinyl siding instead of painting it every 3 to 5 years. Okay, new vinyl siding works really well. And what's the price difference? Okay, if you get vinyl done, maybe you can get it cheaper for $3,500 as opposed to new paint $6,500. Paint costs right now probably about $4 a foot. So take your exterior square footage, figure out what $4 a foot is. Don't think so? Cheaper?
$4 a square foot?
Well, I just think vinyl siding. I mean, it's like hard to get.
That's true. We are having that problem. But which is cheaper, painting it or vinyl siding?
$4 a square foot?
Yeah, just multiply the 1,500 square feet, multiply by 4,
Tell you what, you pay my
Yeah.
payer $350 and I'll take the difference.
$350. If you got somebody good like that, take it.
They might have hail damage.
They might have hail damage.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about little tricks like that on Saturday. Siding repair. Do you need to actually repair all the siding or can you bond it? You know, depends on what kind of property it is, what neighborhood it's in. Make sure the gutters and downspouts provide positive drainage. Huge one. Okay? Because what happens with water? If it doesn't get water away from the property, guess what you're doing? You're calling Ty. You're calling Ty, you're calling me, and we're coming out to deal with it. Okay? I walked in that house once, we were looking at it flip, and this corner of the house in the kitchen had fallen 2.5 feet. We went outside and we saw this big hole right next to the house that looked like it had been dripping for 40 years. And it had dropped and undermined so far that it had dropped the whole kitchen floor. It was unbelievable. No, we did not buy that house. That was about 8 years ago. I don't know what happened. But make sure that positive drainage is away. You can also do it with some landscaping. And make sure you get those gutters right. And make sure you check on those gutters. Because one thing that happens with gutters is teenagers and other people step on those gutters and break those gutters. I don't know how I know that because I have a teenage son that I walked out the other day and saw he had stepped on my gutters, and now I needed the gutter. So we're gonna have a talk about that. Sprinkler systems. This is one of those sprinkler systems that 3/4 of the old time landlords would tell me don't ever do a sprinkler system because the tenant's never gonna water. They're not gonna pay for the water, all that stuff. Well, I like to make my properties look a little prettier and nicer, and hopefully, if I can get them to water even a little bit, then I can have a green lawn. But if you don't get it taken care of in the winter and winterized, guess what happens? You break it. Okay? A way to kind of get around that is a self-draining system, which are pretty good. So spending a little bit more money up front will save you money in the water. Some more tips, okay? Interior and appliances, new versus used. All right, we dealt with this a lot when we were doing this. We have landlords that would be like, "No, I don't want to spend any money. I'm not spending any money. Can't make me spend money." Okay, fine. But you've got a refrigerator that needs to be fixed. Well, we're not spending it. All right, so we call Becker Appliance or furniture, used furniture or something. We get a used appliance. We put it in there. They take away the whole one. What we figured out was it would last about 2 or 3 years. And we'd be doing it, replacing it again. So $300 for a used one. 3 years later, it's another $300 if we wanted to get another. We would have gone to Home Depot, bought a $600 or $700 one, it would have lasted 10 to 15 years. But again, what's the money? Where's the property? What's the money? Stainless steel versus white, bisque, harvest gold, avocado, black. Stainless steel looks really cool, guys. And I'll tell you what, people walk in our property, see stainless steel appliances, even at the lowest end, they love it. Okay, it helps move the rental property faster. Granite helps move the rental property faster. Okay, they're a little more expensive, but they move that property faster. And granite's more durable. How many people have dealt with granite? There's different levels of granite. Level 1 has about 7 or 8 different types. Santa Cecilia, Tuba, can't remember that brown and red one that I have all that you see all over the place. Those level 1 granites are fantastic. People love that. And granite is very hard to destroy. Now, if you want to save a little money, you can put formic in. You can put some cheaper stuff in, but you run into problems. I had these tenants, these owners that tenant moved out after 5 years. And at one point she had vinyl formica. There was a little pothole of where it got burnt. And the owner freaked out. Like, we gotta replace the whole thing, we gotta charge the tenant, blah, 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 blah. So I went over there, I didn't know. I went over there and saw it, literally that big. Like, we're not doing anything to charge her for that. That's normal American. Oh no, we gotta do it. Well, then we're gonna replace it with granite. And you're gonna pay more because that won't happen. So it all depends on the owners. See why as I get older, I get saltier about the old people. They make my head hurt. Don't do avocado, harvest gold. Those are out. About every 6 months, somebody posts on online. I think maybe it was Rick today about some pretty old school pink or green 1970s kitchen that somebody should come by. Nobody wants to buy that crap. We tried. Trust me. It sat in my partner's garage for 2 years trying to sell a perfectly immaculate robin blue egg stainless steel system.
I got a 1970 pastel blue toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do it. There's no one who's going to buy it. Unfortunately, no matter what you think, it's not worth it. Okay. So, washer and dryers. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever put a washer and dryer in a rental property. Not worth it. You'll spend more time fixing that thing than anything. Okay? Most tenants have their own washer and dryer, or they go to errands and rent one. Okay? The other fact is, when they have their own washer and dryer, guess who else comes over to wash their clothes? Their mom, their dad, their sister, their brother, their cousins. They just destroy those things. Now, the rich dad I had, one of the things they had in almost all their properties going up laundry machines. So when we were kids, we would get to go to the properties and collect orders. I still remember that. I don't see that very often. Could you do it? Yeah. I don't think tenants really like that anymore.
Even the coin ops don't pay for stuff like my experience.
Right.
No matter you raise it, you raise it, you raise it, you raise it, the cost of replacement of any part wipes out 6 months or a year.
Right. So here's an interesting way to get around this though. If you have a small apartment building, 10 unit, 20 unit, there's a couple companies that will lease you coin up machines. They'll put them in, they'll come collect the money, they'll manage them, they'll take care of them, and they'll give you 40 to 60% of the profit.
Same with software machines like Coke machines and stuff.
Coke machines.
They'll do the same.
Yeah.
You never have to stock them.
Yeah. So the company's called Mac. Mac, great. It's great. you can let them deal with it. So if you are gonna do that, let them deal with it. Don't deal with it yourself. That's a great tip for your small apartments. Some of the things you put in your rental agreements, your leases. No cars on the blocks or in the driveway or the yard. Make sure that's in there. Tell them they can't change their oil, okay, or repair outside. If they want to do that, they can put it in the garage, okay? Tell the tenants never to use Drano. Drano ruins drains, apparently. I'm not a plumber, so I can't officially talk to that. Most of the plumbers talk, okay? Don't let them do clothes outside because it just causes a lot of problems with neighbors. All right, so clothes makers. No smoking in and around the premises. You can say that. Now, if you want to be a real pain in the ass and go force that, it takes a little while, but you can do that. Or you can evict them for smoking, which we'll talk about the evictions that day a lot. We're going to talk in detail about evictions. Okay? 4 times a year, tell your tenants to replace the smoke and CO alarms and batteries. Guess how many times they'll do it? 0. Guess what they'll even do? They'll even take it out. They'll take the batteries out and they'll take them down because they're cooking too much and they're going off too much. Yeah. Ask me how I know. How many times have I walked in a house and it's beeping? I'm like, how long has this been going on? Oh, it's January. It's June. How can you deal with that? Oh, we're fine. Replace the, tell the tenant to replace their light bulbs. All right, they're using it, replace light bulbs. Walk in the house, there's no light bulbs. Tenant improvements, this is a big one. There used to be a lot of people who would let their tenants do work to their house. Okay? You get a handy guy, a handyman to do work and stuff. It is the biggest headache you can ever hold there. Okay? Unless you specifically write word by word, letter by letter about what they're going to do and what they're responsible for and what you're responsible for, it is a pain in the neck. Do not let tenants do any work to your house. Okay? Did you hear me yet? Do not let your tenants do any work to the house. Okay? If you go into a lease option or an owner carry situation, then sometimes you can put some language in there that works. But as a regular tenant, don't let them. Okay? If they want to paint their shed or paint a room, they have to get approval from you. And you have to put in there that you're not responsible for fixing it. And you're not responsible for putting it back. So if some family gets, their teenager wants to paint their house black or their room black, okay, you can do that. But I'm going to charge you $400 to paint it back the other way or more. Oh, well, we don't want to do that. Okay, don't. And then you walk in and they're leaving and there's a black wall. We had, they had some, this group.
Got extra time. What about baby nurseries?
Same thing.
Turn it baby.
Same thing. Yeah, you can do that. But I'm going to charge you $400 on the way out. Especially if it, and that's the only thing. So yeah, this group, I love these guys. They give me this property. It's a 4-unit off Morrison Road. And they say, hey, we're really having trouble getting all the money, all collected. We've owned it for a little while. We've done some repairs. So we go there, we start managing this. The lower unit in front has cars going by every 10 minutes. And also we go in and we start finding out what's going on. Drug dealers. But the drug dealers had talked to the owner and said, okay, we don't have to pay first 2 months rent because we're going to paint this thing and we're going to do all this rehab for you. Owner didn't put it in writing. There was nothing in writing. So we had to deal with that. Then we found out that upstairs at that place had to deal with that. The neighbor upstairs, who was the one who recommended the drug dealer, all of a sudden hated the drug dealer and they got in fights, and we had to deal with domestic violence stuff and nobody had leases. Took us like 6 months to get this thing cleaned out. We finally did cash regimes with the guy downstairs. We're like, all right, we're gonna give you $4 grand, give you $2 grand right now, go find a place, and $2 grand when you're totally out. And they got out. Okay, we got the bed bugs taken care of. The girl upstairs was Section 8. She owed him before we got there $800. Her portion was $79 a month. $79 a month. She had more clothes and more stuff in her house. Anything that she could have sold off and paid that money, she wouldn't pay it. So we finally had to kick her out. Let me tell you, that was a fun one. All kinds of stuff. So don't let your tenants improve it. Get all adults 18 or over on a lease. Okay, if they're in the house 18 and over, they've got to be on a lease. Okay. Eviction. This is an hour-long discussion. We're going to talk about it real quick. Okay. Lawyers anywhere from $250 to $450 right now. The sheriff is $150. You have to, if you get an eviction, okay, you pay your lawyer $250, $300. They go file it with the court. Nobody shows up. You get the writ of restitution. You post it. They have another certain number of days to deal with it. And then hopefully if they just decide to disappear, then you call the sheriff. Sheriff says, okay, I can be out there in 3 weeks. Sheriff shows up. Sheriff says, you have to have enough manpower to get everything out of that house in 1 hour. And you have to put it on the curb. Okay. Funny thing is, in Aurora, you put it on the curb, and you get a ticket within the first hour for having it out on the curb. Okay. The cop says you have to leave it there for 24 hours or a reasonable amount of time. We found out that after the fact, reasonable amount of time, which depends on the sheriff. What's a reasonable amount of time? Like, well, I'm going to go to lunch and blah, blah, and things are gone by the time I get back. That's a reasonable amount. So, but that was one sheriff in Denver. The sheriff in Arapahoe County was like, yeah, 24 hours. So they're all different.
You have to get it off the curb back.
Yes. I'll leave it on the curb. One thing the sheriffs and stuff, they're good about is they don't want a lot of trash, food trash out there. And anything dangerous, they won't let you put out there. So, bottles, knives, stuff like that. Heroin needles, all that stuff that you didn't want to touch. But you got to have enough people to move.
So you gotta get, I'm sorry, you gotta get it out of the house within an hour.
Yep.
Get it to the curb. And then in a reasonable amount of time, you gotta clean the curb up.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, it's amazing what you got to do. And then after that, so you get a collections as well. So maybe they were $5,000, $10,000 behind on their rent, and their security deposit and all their damage. You can put it into collections. You give it to the lawyer, and the lawyer just takes it. And you wait 5, 10, 15 years before you ever hear anything. Sometimes you do. Sometimes I've heard stories, friends might have had stories where all of a sudden they get a call and says, oh, I want to buy a house, but I can't because this is on my credit. All right, well, you pay $10,000, you can go buy your house. I'll move it. So sometimes that happens. Other times you go to court and fight it just to see what happens, or you don't go to court and just pay them. So all kinds of different parts of that. And that eviction law, by the way, has changed 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years. Okay, COVID changed it a lot. Before that, it was changed by the legislature. It's going to get changed again this year. So be ready for something to change.
I can just say something, and I don't know the people. Every state
eviction, they don't even call it evictions in Pennsylvania. It's called check,
Yeah, check.
okay? So.
Every state
has their own little twist on it.
Every state has a different law. Colorado has gone from a statewide law to now they're turning it over to municipalities. To manage.
Is that still the sheriff in the county that handles it?
So the sheriff from the county, but every municipality, so Weaver has different rules than Layton. Layton has different rules than Cincinnati. Okay. It's,
We found that out when we were doing things about Airbnb. Each city.
Yeah.
has a different set of rules.
So Colorado's legislature is moving towards that, because that's the way they can find things, get ways around rent control and other things that they want to implement. The Fair Housing Act, we touched on this a little bit. Go to HUD.gov to find out, but it basically outlaws you can't refuse to rent or sell anything to a person because of the race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, family status, physical or mental disabilities, and if I'm not mistaken, it was passed last year, hairstyles. Hairstyles. It was passed at the end of the legislative season last year. Hairstyles. So if Ross comes to rent from you, okay, and you don't like his hair, you can't say it's because of his hair.
I don't shave.
But
you can qualify based on credit.
you can qualify based on credit.
And that can be your determination.
Yes.
And
But-
income.
But,
Based on
and
your
income.
determination.
So if you have more than one or two rentals, they have to all follow the same guidelines. Okay? So even though you have a rental up here in fancy part of Westminster, and you say you can only have a 690 credit or 720 credit score to rent this house, if your house is down in 5 points, or worse than, I guess 5 points is too fancy now. You can't say something different for that product. They have to be the same. Now, you could tier it based on what the property level is. So you could say this is an A-class property.
Has to be
That is a
published.
C-class
Has to be
property.
published in the office or something.
You have to publish it somewhere. Okay, so be careful of that. It's pretty scary.
Back to your municipality laws or regs. How do you find that? Are they published in each? So if you have a rental agreement, you have to go to each particular website.
They're actually pretty straightforward. They're not great, but they're straightforward. So,
Fairly easy
yeah.
to find.
And the cool thing, the one thing I found about the smaller communities around Denver and around the city, people are willing to tell you exactly what you need. If you call them up and you're nice to them, they'll tell you that. Okay? If you go down there, make an appointment, they'll tell you that. Okay? They really don't want to fight. Denver's just so big right now, it's a little harder to get through that. And Denver changes weekly because of the city council. So Denver's run by the city council, so city council can change rules in a heartbeat.
Wasn't it something that they're gonna start requiring landlords to have a landlord license?
So that's coming down the road. In Denver, you have to have a landlord license. I don't think that's, I did research on this stuff.
What's the test for that gonna be like?
Okay, so Denver
Are you into?
is, you have to have a license that you have to buy for $50. Your property has to be inspected by an inspector once every 4 years.
And
Okay, now who is a licensed inspector? Do the rental inspector? Can a house inspector do it? Sure. Does a house inspector want to do it? No, because all they really are checking is smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, and hazardous stuff. Egress, ingress, does the door open? One thing I learned the hard way is you have to have from the inside, you have to have a door that twists. You can't have a key. in the door, because if that key gets lost, somebody's stuck inside and burned. So I learned that hard. I had nothing happen to that, but Section 8 is like,
I know we're getting off track, but can the property manager hold that then with a license if he qualified
Yes.
as the owner? You don't necessarily
right.
just have to hire.
Sure, yeah, I probably. So no, back to fair housing, don't ask any questions. And be careful on the phones when somebody calls you. They do have organizations that will call you and try and trick you into telling them something. Say something about, hey, what are the schools like that? You can't tell. Is this neighborhood African American? You can't tell them anything like that. Okay? They will try and trick you. If they trick you, then they send you the HUD, and then you have to deal with the report and the investigation. They've tried to trick me a couple times on a property down in that Morrison area. Nice young lady, 22, 23, looks pretty good, had all her stuff together. And I started asking her questions, not anything related to that. And she started kind of trying to test me on stuff. And she disappeared. Never heard from her again, but I know she was testing me to make sure that I wasn't distributing.
Yeah, agents can sell that stuff, right?
Huh?
An agent
No.
selling the house.
No,
They can't talk about.
agents can't talk about anything. Nothing. You can't talk.
about the school.
Nope, you can't talk about the schools. It's up to them to go study.
Because in our Facebook group, I saw from somewhere, I saw a couple of realtors say, hey, we've got this app. If you're searching to stay within a certain school district. we can help you.
You
Yeah,
can
we
name
want
the
to do
school
that.
district, but you can't say, oh, the amazing school
Oh, you
district,
can't.
that like you can't.
Thumbs up or
add-
thumbs down.
Yeah, just, this is what the school
There's
district.
3 schools here, period.
Yeah.
Can't say what the school district is rated. I mean, that's public information.
No, they have to go study and consult.
If you say like, these are cherry fruit schools here, what's the
Say,
school?
you should say this is a school district. That's it. Say, yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, so I've got a apartment or a house for this. I've got 6 applications all came at the same time. They all got the same credit score. I run a background check, they all come clean. How can I legally make a decision?
First person. If you only own one property, you can take the best that you want. But if you got 3 or 4 properties, you take the first one that came through.
So you don't tell them how you make a decision, just it's been filled or you got it.
Well, so now the newer laws of Colorado, which is another 2.5 hour segment, is now you have to actually officially give a reason for denying that property. You also now cannot overcharge for application fees. Okay, so if your application fee costs you $25 for the credit reporting company and $15 for a background check, law background check, that's all you can charge people. Okay, you can't overcharge them. Okay, then if you don't take their application, you have to give them a letter, send them a letter why you didn't take it. And that just changed last year too. Okay, so you guys really need to go, if you're a landlord, go read the laws yourself. Okay, contact your city council members, talk to your representatives, get involved with the legislature, find out what's going on. If you have time, go to the Capitol, testify against some of these rules. Okay, they're changing all the time. We have very democratic house. The House is Democratic, the Senate is Democratic, and the governor is Democratic. So they can get anything passed anyway. Now they're not railroading everything to the nth degree. They'll listen to people. They'll change things because they wanted to make all these landlord rules, and they wanted to screw big landlords, big LMIs, the big apartment complexes. Well, we went in there and said, hey, what about mom and pop? 70% of these properties owned by mom and pop. And if you go do that, you will ruin there. So they tweaked it. They said, okay, if you want under 5 properties, then you don't need to do all these regulations, all this stuff. So it's been changing. So don't listen, but you got to get involved. Okay? Go to the Capitol and testify. Well, it's a great experience to do it sometimes and listen to it. Do have enough time to go down. Don't just say you got 2 hours. Hopefully you'll get it done because it does not run on your time. It runs on the Capitol's time. And you can go sit in and they're going to say you're going to be here 2 to 12 or 12 to 2. And all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock at night and they're still not done with testifying. So, but get involved. I-Corps, investment community of Rockies, is probably the best place to get information. I'll push it out. Ray will push it out when we see it. So when you guys know about it. But go to I-Corps, they have a lot of information. Okay. So, am I over time, Jim? Am I bored? Everybody bored yet?
Yeah, I mean.
I have 20 minutes? You don't want me to talk for another 20 minutes? Get out of here. So, January 22nd, okay, this is the sales pitch. I'm going to sit up here. Half the time I'll be boring, but this is what we're going to talk about. I scratched the surface tonight. So, it's just a little bit. We'll go through all this stuff, okay, 10 to 4. Here's the deal, okay, because you guys want more, right? $295. If you guys sign up tonight or tomorrow, we can do a 2 for 1. Okay, so 2 people for $295. Okay, you need to talk to your wife, partner, significant other, whatever, and you call Jim tomorrow, he'll still give you that price. Okay, but 2 for 1. Okay, come, guys, especially younger people who are starting to get into this. It's really important to learn this stuff. Okay, we'll talk Airbnb. We'll talk about that stuff. So sign up, find a friend, split the cost, and come. And you will definitely get it. I will hand out all the slides. There'll be a paper copy of all the slides so that you guys can go look at it and figure this stuff out. And it will come with, where to go find this stuff. Okay, what websites are. So. Real quick plug for Peak Structural. I do some work for Peak Structural, like Ty was talking about. That's why Ty's following me around. So if you need structural foundation stuff, don't be scared of structural anymore. Okay, now that you have experts in the room, we'll help you through it. It's pretty easy. John Fisher Breakfast Club, like we talked about, the second Saturday of the month, downtown. Almost 60 investors all the time. And one of the great experiences. I get nothing but good comments every month. If you want to know more about Invest Success and the coaching program I have, give me a call. We'll sit down and talk. I don't hold much back. If we talk for an hour, we talk for an hour. We talk 2 times, 3 times, I might have to start charging. But I'm pretty free with my information. So that is it. Any questions? Anyone want to talk about stuff or have any thoughts? Oh, sweet.
We got plenty of time for questions.
Yeah.
What? I'm sure it's investor dependent, but on average, you were saying, you talk to a property manager once, won't hear from them again for 10 minutes. Is that the same? I mean, what's kind of the timeline that your owners are talking on a regular basis? Are they getting updates monthly?
Oh yeah.
As a property manager?
Yeah. You'll get a monthly check or you'll get a monthly deposit.
Right.
For everything that, we take out our fee. If there's no other fees to take out, you just get that check.
But as far as like communications with you, if nothing's happening, if it's pretty lax, you went and fixed that furnace filter at 11:30. I'm not saying you call them, but is there like a 3-month quarterly checkup with the?
It's usually about a year.
Okay.
the new software system that we're using have a little bit more information if you needed to get something out there. What we did was sticks and stones. We had a $250 basically slush fund that if we needed to get something fixed for under $250, we would. If it was over $250, we're calling it. So, you know, after the first 6 months, you get comfortable with somebody, you don't want to talk to us anyways. Because it just keeps coming and it's getting money and it's just coming in. Now, when you get a call from us, oh. But usually we try to take care of all that stuff. So I'm not gonna call you and tell you that I had to go change the current social center. I don't need to call them here. Yeah. So what else?
How does this play in the short-term rental market? Airbnbs and all that sort of stuff. It's just a different animal, but the tips and tricks for the most part all apply.
There are. So Airbnb, VRBO have a lot. It's almost like the Wild West a little bit right now. The property managers are trying to figure it out. I have not heard any great ones yet. I've met in the 5 years, 6 years since it's been online. I've probably met 15 property managers just focusing on Airbnb. You know how many times I've seen them after the first time I've met? Maybe twice. It's a lot of work. It's hard, especially down here in these areas, if you don't have a good system. Up in the mountains, they've got good systems. They've got people doing it, but up in the mountains, they take 30 to 40 seconds. Okay, because they're there turning it over, they're taking care of it all the time. Down here is a little bit less. Kim's gonna go through this and teach a class on it in about 2 months. But Airbnb and VRBO, if you combine them, they take care of the calendar. The calendar, you can set it up so that they call it the cleaning people for you when it's ready. You can get all that stuff done and go through that and get it pretty much dialed in. It just takes a little bit of time, right? So far, that's what you found.
Yeah. I'm trying to just learn from as many other people's mistakes as I can before I start. And I've learned a lot that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it's just little tricks, you know.
I've also heard a business model of VRBO property management where basically, so long they don't take necessarily a cut, there's like a minimum that you as the owner gets, that you're comfortable with, maybe it's 10, 15 days worth, that you're comfortable with getting that check. Everything else above and beyond that is rented, goes right to the
Manager.
It's an interesting concept. That when I first heard it, it's like,
I haven't, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a new company advertising around a lot about something unique like that.
it's just interesting.
Yeah.
And shoot, if you were comfortable with 7 days worth of full, just getting a minimal payment, your cash flow well enough, then you can.
Yeah. Except if you're leaving, if you're getting 10 days a month and you're leaving another 10 days a month on the table, that could be a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
Does it incentivize the property, the Airbnb property manager to get it rented more often?
yeah.
What's that? Renting it more. I was in this business, flip a house 12 times or 10 times in a month. Is wear and tear. So you not only on the house, now you also responsible for the furniture. Right?
And the sheets.
You mean as an owner? Yeah, I mean, again, property management, for income, you're in that, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Whole different happening. Like you said, it's Wild West right now.
Mhm.
It's a whole different model.
doing short-term rentals. So if anyone wants to know a guy who does it, I think he's very good at it. And we collaborate a lot. We'll find property and we'll have us design. He's really good at what he does. I think he was at the Pine Summit last time. I-Trip. I think he presented at the Pine Financial Summit.
Yeah, there's somebody at Pine. That's what it was.
They're a franchise I-Trip, so there's
Yeah.
a bunch of different people that work it.
Yeah. It's just a different strategy. It's like the Burr method. It's like long-term rentals. It's like if you do nursing rentals, you do 3-month executive rentals. It's all just different. You gotta let your house work. The other thing about VRBO and Airbnb is the rules are changing all the time with every municipality. So what happens in Denver, usually Denver proper changes it, and other people around you follow. So something to kind of be interested in. So you gotta keep in mind. And the mountain towns are totally confused. They're doing all kinds of weird stuff. So. All right.
All right. Questions?
Don't everybody run up at the front to go buy your tickets at the same time. Hey, Jim can't handle all that stuff.
I'm pretty fast though. I'm pretty fast.
But thank you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Please feel free to reach out. And now you clap.
Thank you, Tim. I do have, let me see. Go ahead. There it is right there. He had what, roughly about an hour here tonight? He's gonna take 8 hours to go over that. Starting from the goals, analyzing property, rehabbing it, marketing it, managing it, rental agreements, tax considerations. And I think he's over 110 tips on
I
the
know it.
managing the rentals. That's a big thing. We're gonna be right here. They'll have brunch, they'll have lunch, they'll have beverages. So we sit here and we'll turn the tables around now that we're making the best fit for you. It's gonna be a good day, good day, good day. In February, we've got, this is already getting hits. We got more hits on this than we did this tonight. I don't know why. Everybody's wanting to get real estate tax lien investment. It's a mouthful. Now, how many people have seen infomercials on TV? You get rich quick, spend a little bit of money, and get a mansion for nothing. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it realistic in our area? No.
Nationwide, it's only about
If you're selling
5%.
If you're selling drugs on the side.
I mean, if you buy a lien, chances are in our area, you'll get your money back off the lien. So yes, you can make some money. Are you gonna get the property? Very slim. If you get the property, is it gonna be worth it? There's a reason they walked away from it. When I was calling different the actual tax officials in the area and emailing them, hey, we're gonna have a thing on tax liens. Would you come and visit? And first guy goes, I'd love to, but you're not going to want to hear what I've got to say. And my first reaction was like, okay, thank you, bye. We're like, no, wait, no, we want to hear the truth. We want to hear the real scheme. You don't hear the hype and the whatever. I can't talk to you. You don't want to hear the hype and the bull that you hear on TV. We want to hear what it's like. So we're going to have a couple of actual tax officials come in and talk about what it's like to do tax liens in our area. And like I say, we've already gotten quite a bit of information or interest on that.
Some states